Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. This is AI and Accessibility, Benefits and Challenges. Today, we're going to be talking about the importance of AI for accessibility, and we're going to cover the two components of AI accessibility, AI tools for accessing materials and reviewing materials, and AI tools for creating accessible materials, because they go hand in hand. And one cannot really be successful without the other, ultimately. And then as we're going through, we're going to be talking about benefits, and toward the end, we'll discuss some challenges. So the importance of AI for accessibility in higher education, I think, is coined very well by UMass Boston's effort of student equity, access, and success. We all know that our purpose at UMass is to foster student success. One step in doing that is ensuring that there's equity in digital materials that we produce and that everyone can access them, regardless of the tools that they are using. AI tools will help level the playing field for many, increase accessibility, and minimize barriers to learning for all students. So we're going to talk more about how AI contributes on both levels. But before we start with that, I do want to touch base about a couple facts that might put things into perspective for you guys. In 2021, a survey done by, let me see, I have this in my notes, the US Census's American Community Survey identified that there are 13% of the civilian population reports having some form of disability. And also important to note is that in spring 2023, there were 850 students at UMass Boston who used the Ross Center for Disability Services. My colleagues at the Ross Center have informed me that this number has gone up significantly since 2020. And this could be in part due to the increase in mental health issues since that time, as well as the increase of the use of digital materials and online learning since the pandemic. So those are things to keep in mind. Some other statistics that I have that aren't on the sheet, I just want to share with you because I find it really interesting. Among the 38 million people who are 25 and older and report having a disability, 6.7 million, or 18%, held a bachelor's degree in or higher degree in 2019. This is considerably lower than the 36% who did not report a disability and held the same level of degrees. So that's just something to keep in mind when we're thinking about our roles on campus. So the types of AI used for accessibility, I want to just give you a brief overview of some of these. I have not used a lot of these directly, like I haven't used the Kurzweil 3000 or screen readers, but these are both examples of text-to-speech recognition. And we could thank Ray Kurzweil for that, because he is the person who pretty much developed optical character recognition, which allowed for these things to work effectively. More mainstream example of text-to-speech accommodation that students may request or that they may seek out is audiobooks. And they're not achieved in the same way that the technology utilized for screen readers and the Kurzweil are utilizing, because they're essentially primarily recorded by human. But there are instances where they are audio or auto-generated vocals to create the audio for a book or a piece of content that we're providing. Does anybody have any questions? Ellen?
No,
No, everybody's good? Okay.
all good
So
so far.
types of additional types of AI used for accessibility are speech to text recognition. So that what comes into play there is auto captioning, transcription. It's used for note taking for students who may have learning disabilities, or also for writing. So these are additionally, Alexa and Siri have been very helpful to many people with disabilities for utilizing their phones, or basic functions that we can connect to Alexa, and things that we can have Siri do, like generate a text for us and communicate if we cannot see the screen. So these are all additional, some general examples of AI used for accessibility. But what really is important, and this is where I'm going to end up stopping the presentation and going into some demo, is the AI tools for creating accessible digital materials. So I'm sure many of you are aware that there's Microsoft Accessibility Checker. That's located in Word and PowerPoint under Review on the menu, and I will show you that in a few minutes. The Microsoft Accessibility Checker is super helpful because it will point out all the facets of our document that needs to change to make it more accessible for people. Adobe has an accessibility checker that's utilized in Acrobat and InDesign. Less frequently used, I think, by many, by me including. I prefer to use the Microsoft Accessibility Checker and make sure that I've addressed my accessibility before converting something to Acrobat. And that is very helpful in the long run, but you can address accessibility directly in Acrobat as well. Anthology Ally, for those of us who use Blackboard, is a tool available in Blackboard, and it can be available in Canvas as well. It's also available on the web, but we have pretty much currently purchased it for our learning management system. And that is another thing that I will be showing you in a minute. So I'm closing my my slide presentation for the moment and going into Blackboard at this time, because what I wanted to show you is Ally. I guess I'm going to pop to Ally first, or actually you're just seeing my screen, so I have to reshare. So I apologize about that. So I'm going to share my desktop. Actually, I will show you a Word document first. So for example, I'm going to open this persona alternative, and it's a chart that I had made. Not giving me access. Hold on one moment. Persona alternative. Oh, great, it's not showing up. Doesn't that always happen? So I won't show that document. I will show a different one.
Can you open the Word program and then do File Open and get it that way?
I might be able to do
be
that. Thanks, Ellen.
file?
Yeah, let me just check.
It might be
to
like
see if
open recent.
Yeah. So let me, there you go. I have everything open under the sun. I apologize about that. So actually I have nothing open, but if I go to open
Open recent, that's what I was thinking.
Here it is, but that's what I just tried doing, Ellen, and it actually
Oh,
didn't open.
did you move it? Is that what happened?
I don't think I did, but bear with us, folks. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Good. Yay.
So this is just something I had come up with for a project that I was working on, where I was trying to come up with different personas for that represented various disabilities and what accommodative elements or universal design elements would be beneficial or not beneficial at all, um, or a needed element. So if I want to check the accessibility of this, I can go to review and then check accessibility.
Linda, can you make that a full screen so I can see it better?
Let me see. Does that make it easier to see?
I don't know, maybe.
I don't think it does. I think making it
I don't think so
larger.
either.
I think making it larger probably would make it easier to see.
That
How's
does,
that?
that works. That's beautiful.
Okay.
Okay.
So this, I mean, the primary thing here is the chart. And the first thing my accessibility checker over to the right here is telling me is that I used merged or split cells, and that would be hard for a screen reader to read. And so that's something I should have considered when making this. But what I don't have time right now to redesign this, but as you can see, this is an example here. It's not highlighting anything else, but it's a very small document. I feel like I should have a better document to share with you. Maybe how about my syllabus that lets me access that? Accessibility or instructional design syllabi. So yes, it's not letting me access it because it's a presentation. Uh, so I do apologize about that. But oh, okay, there it is. So this is the syllabus for my course. And when I run the accessibility checker on that, since I've worked really hard to make this accessible, it's not identifying anything. But the things that it would normally identify are your headers in the document, and or if an image was not described, if there's an image in the document and it doesn't have a tag or a description. And because it's important for a screen reader to be able to identify the information on your page, and if it's valuable information versus a decorative image, you're going to want to make sure you have that described. So it says right here, image not in line, and review auto-generated description. Apparently somewhere I have an auto-generated description. So if I right click and go to view alt text, I could fix that based on the advice that the checker is giving me. So we're going to go into more detail in another workshop on how to step by step to make your documents accessible. But I just wanted to give you an example of what you would see when you use the accessibility checker. This accessibility checker is also available in PowerPoint. So I can go into PowerPoint, and I'm just not sharing my screen at the moment, right?
That is correct.
Okay. So let's go back to this. I could go into my PowerPoint here, and I could go to review and use this accessibility checker here as well. This is going to have a lot of issues, and this is because I have used AI to create the cool images on the PowerPoint. So, and I will get into more details about that in a little bit. But again, it functions the same way. Your next one that I want to show you is Acrobat. So in Acrobat, when you open a file, for example, I'll open this WIOA, which I'm not sure exactly what this is, but I believe it had a lot of images. Yes. And so if I go to edit this PDF, then I can go in and use the accessibility checker on it. And there are so many icons in Acrobat that, like, here is the accessibility icon on the right. I don't know if you see my highlight of it. When I click on that, I can say accessibility check and click start checking, and it will tell me everything that I need to fix about my document. Now, this is a PDF, so if I have the Word doc of this, I would go back into the Word doc and make it accessible using the Word document. But I just wanted you to see the checker itself. This takes a little bit longer to generate the information for the check. It should come up momentarily. But you can also set alternative text here, and you can see there are various features of accessibility that you can use in Acrobat. Just to continue moving on, what I'm going to do is go to Blackboard. So for Ally, you have a series of scales with anything you put into Blackboard that indicates the accessibility of that document. So this particular document has a perfect accessibility score, but I'm going to click on the scale anyway and show you why it does. It does because I added all of the reference information for that document, and that allows someone to go in and access the online version of the material, the HTML version, which is more accessible. So I did that just by editing the reference and finding the reference information for the article, saying where I found it and how someone else could find it if the PDF that I've attached cannot be read by the assistive technology being used by somebody. Any questions about that? Here's one that's not accessible. And when I click on the scale, it's telling me this is only 5% accessible. And it will tell me what this means, what is a tagged PDF and what that means, and why we use it. So it's educating us, which is really great. And how you can tag a PDF. So Ally will take you step by step through making your information accessible once you've added it to Blackboard. But since not everyone here uses Blackboard, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on that. Happy to answer any questions about that. But just to show you, though, that these technologies are using AI basically to help us with accessibility and to help us achieve those goals of accessibility.
Linda,
So
can you, oh, I thought you had paused. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just,
I just was wondering if you could reiterate where the burden of responsibility to the students for making making the course accessible lies with the faculty, right?
so the burden of responsibility with the faculty, oh yeah, we're going, yes. We are
Am I ahead
definitely
of
going to
it?
go, you're a little bit ahead of it.
Okay. Yep.
Um, so, but like I had said earlier, the AI that's used by the viewer can't work essentially very well if we aren't using perhaps AI to assist us in making these documents accessible. And hold on a second, my forward button wasn't working. Challenges. What's really important to know is that this accessibility does take a little time, but it doesn't have to take a lot of time. And what ends up taking more time when it comes to making things accessible so that people who use AI to access your materials can access them is when you start the document without having accessibility in mind and without proactively making your content, your digital content accessible. And also what does take time is reviewing information for accessibility. So often I'm asked to review things for accessibility and I want to fit it into my calendar, but I can't always do that. And or I have, it may take me a week to schedule something in, as far as I might not be able to review it. So last minute requests for reviewing accessibility is not always helpful and could make it take more time for you as well. Dependence on AI, and like I had just said, if you don't proactively work to add these elements in of accessibility, whether it's headings and things that will make your document more accessible, make them more accessible, like alt tags and such, you are making more work for yourself to have to go back and redesign that document to make it accessible. I know a lot of people with syllabi tend to love to use the visual aspect of charts. Well, charts are more difficult for screen readers to navigate through, and especially if that chart doesn't have a header row. But I mean, who has either created a chart that was like really, really huge or extended multiple pages? The header row allows the person using a screen reader to be able to identify what each column header is for each piece of information and cell that it goes to. Does that make sense? Because when you're using a screen reader, you don't have the luxury of being able to visually see that header at the top that we see. And so that's important to consider things like that, to try to create your document from the start with multiple perspectives in mind. And I'm skipping down to perspectives. But it is important to think that there are people with multiple different perspectives and capabilities and disabilities that we are working with at UMass Boston and anywhere in this world. And it's important that everybody can access materials. And I skipped over the AI that isn't accessible, but I did touch upon it earlier. How many of you have used the design feature in PowerPoint? If you have, it makes things beautiful. I mean, it makes your slides very professional. I used it for this slide, but what I did when creating this slide or this presentation was I created my bare bones presentation with a basic template that I just clicked on at the top of PowerPoint that was an accessible template, because all of their built-in templates are accessible. And then I made a copy, and then I played with the design feature, the designer, because what this designer tends to do is it will make content inaccessible. And it does so because in order to design this particular slide, we have a black background, we have this gradient field here, and this bar image, this image, everything is kind of put in separately, and we don't know that. And visually, it doesn't matter to us, but it matters to somebody trying to navigate the slide using a screen reader. And that's important to know. This slide here was also designed using the design feature. If you start with something in your PowerPoints that has bullets, and say the design feature creates this from the bullets, it is taking the bullets out of that and putting your data in an image that a screen reader can't access. So you have to be wary, I think, of AI used for design, because yeah, it makes things really, wow, nice, professional, but it also makes it inaccessible in many cases. So that's something to keep in mind. And now the impact of inclusive design and using AI properly is increased engagement. And so that with the ability to access materials on a regular basis without any delay of having to wait to get the alternate version from the Ross Center, you are improving student engagement and participation. So high, and thus student success would be higher as well. So students are more likely to succeed and achieve their goals. And overall, that would impact the improved campus climate, promoting diverse, welcoming, and supportive environment that welcomes all learners. And that's really what we want to do here. So if you have any questions about the role of AI in accessibility, please don't hesitate to contact us at Learning Design Services, or contact the Ross Center for Disability Services if there's a question that you have about AI that your student who is requesting an accommodation is using. We're all very happy to help.